What really happened inside that Japanese TV studio the moment it happened? Why did the entire room suddenly fall silent? And why were viewers at home left completely speechless? Welcome back to Jikook Lover. Before we dive into this shocking viral story, make sure you hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe right now so you don't miss the most explosive updates about Jimin. Because what you're about to hear is not just another TV appearance. This was a moment that froze Japan, sent social media into chaos, and made the world ask one burning question: how powerful is Jimin's presence really? No one expected that night to turn into one of the most talked about television moments in Japan this year. It wasn't announced as a historic broadcast. There were no dramatic teasers hinting that something unforgettable was about to unfold. The program followed its usual rhythm: light conversation, comfortable laughter, polished camera transitions. Everything felt controlled, predictable, safe. And then something shifted. When Jimin appeared on screen, the atmosphere was warm but normal. The host smiled. The audience clapped politely. The energy felt respectful yet relaxed. Viewers at home were simply enjoying another celebrity appearance on Japanese television. Nothing about those first seconds suggested that the clip would soon circulate across platforms, rack up millions of views, and spark heated debate. But sometimes history hides inside the smallest gestures. The camera zoomed in slightly. Jimin adjusted his posture. His expression remained calm, almost playful. And then, with a movement so natural it almost seemed accidental, he reached up and removed his glasses. That was it. No fireworks, no dramatic soundtrack, no exaggerated reaction shot prepared in advance. Yet in that exact second, the studio changed. Eyewitness clips now circulating online show a visible pause, a subtle but undeniable silence. A host who had been speaking suddenly stopped mid-sentence. An audience member covered her mouth. Another leaned forward, eyes wide, as if trying to process what she was seeing. The energy in the room didn't explode, it froze. Why? Some viewers argue it was simply visual impact. The lighting caught his features perfectly. The camera angle framed his face in a way that felt cinematic. Others insist it wasn't about appearance alone. They describe it as a shift in aura, a presence that felt amplified the moment the barrier of glasses disappeared. Japanese social media reacted within minutes. Short clips of the exact second he removed them began trending. Comments flooded in from viewers claiming they forgot to breathe. Others admitted they replayed the moment several times to understand why it felt so intense. Television ratings reportedly spiked during and immediately after a segment. Entertainment forums dissected the footage frame by frame. Was it the expression in his eyes? The timing? The contrast between casual and striking? Analysts began asking whether this was a textbook example of star power manifesting in real time. What made the reaction even more fascinating was the cultural context. Japanese television audiences are often described as composed and reserved in their outward emotional display. Applause is measured. Laughter is controlled. Silence, in many cases, speaks louder than screaming. So when viewers described a collective hush falling over the studio, international fans took notice. Clips traveled beyond Japan. Global fan communities shared subtitled versions. Reaction videos emerged overnight. Comment sections filled with variations of the same thought. He didn't even try. He just took off his glasses. But beneath the surface excitement, a deeper conversation began to form. Was this moment truly spontaneous? Or did it reveal something larger about how global audiences perceive Jimin today? For years, his stage presence has been described as magnetic, almost theatrical. Yet this wasn't a concert stage. This wasn't a high-energy choreography performance under dramatic lights. This was a seated television appearance, controlled, structured, ordinary. And that's what made it extraordinary. There is something powerful about contrast. A calm setting disrupted by a single quiet gesture. A simple act that suddenly feels cinematic because of who performs it. Media scholars sometimes call this phenomenon micro-impact, a brief action that triggers disproportionate emotional response due to accumulated public perception. In other words, perhaps the silence wasn't about the glasses at all. Perhaps it was about expectation meeting reality in a single frame. For longtime fans, the moment felt validating. They saw it as proof that Jimin's influence has transcended language barriers and national borders. For casual viewers, it felt like a discovery, an unexpected reminder of why he commands such attention globally. Yet skeptics question the scale of the reaction. Was the silence exaggerated by online storytelling? Did editing amplify what was only a brief pause? In the age of viral clips, perception can grow faster than context. A 3-second moment can become a cultural event overnight. Still, even critics admitted something unusual occurred, because ordinary TV appearances rarely trigger nationwide discussion. By the next morning, entertainment columns were referencing the glasses moment. Morning talk shows replayed the footage. Radio hosts debated whether it was charisma, timing, or pure coincidence. The phrase, "speechless in the studio," began circulating as shorthand for what happened. Interestingly, no official dramatic statement followed from the network. There was no attempt to market it as a historic broadcast. The buzz grew organically, propelled by viewers, not producers. That organic momentum may be the most telling detail of all. It suggests authenticity, and authenticity is rare. There's also a psychological layer worth exploring. When a public figure maintains a certain image, composed, stylish, slightly shielded by accessories, removing even a small physical barrier can feel symbolic. Glasses can frame the face, soften the gaze, create distance. Removing them can create immediacy, directness, vulnerability. Did audiences subconsciously react to that sudden shift? Or was it simply that the camera captured him at precisely the right second, expression aligned, lighting perfect, atmosphere primed? In the days following the broadcast, fan debates intensified. Some called it one of the most iconic low-key television moments of the year. Others argued that labeling it historic was overdramatic. Yet even those who downplayed it continued discussing it. And that may be the ultimate measure of impact: sustained conversation. Because in an era overflowing with content, silence is rare, and collective silence is even rarer. What happened in that Japanese studio was not chaos. It was not screaming hysteria. It was something subtler and perhaps more powerful. A pause that felt shared. A moment when attention sharpened instead of scattered. And maybe that's why it lingers. Because it raises uncomfortable, fascinating questions about influence, perception, and presence. What happens when subtlety is replaced with intention? What happens when a figure who can command silence with a single gesture decides to step forward with something bigger, louder, more deliberate? That is the question now echoing across fan communities and media circles alike. Because the glasses moment, as many have started calling it, did more than trend for a few hours. It shifted the narrative. It reminded audiences that impact does not always require spectacle. In fact, sometimes restraint is the spectacle. In a world conditioned to react to extremes, high notes, dramatic choreography, shocking announcements, the quiet removal of a pair of glasses felt almost rebellious. It suggested control. Control over timing, over image, over atmosphere. Some cultural commentators in Japan have begun framing the moment as a study in modern celebrity psychology. They argue that true influence is measured not by how loudly a crowd reacts, but by how deeply it focuses. And that night, focus sharpened. Eyes locked onto the screen. Conversations paused mid-thought. For a brief second, attention was unified. There is also the element of mystery. Jimin did not overplay the reaction. He didn't acknowledge the silence in a dramatic way. He simply continued, calm and composed, as if unaware that something seismic had just occurred. That composure may have amplified the effect even more. Because when someone does not chase the spotlight, yet the spotlight bends toward them anyway, it creates intrigue. Now fans are watching more closely than ever. Every appearance, every broadcast, every subtle gesture is being analyzed through a new lens. Was that moment accidental? Or was it an unspoken reminder of just how effortlessly he can shift an entire room's energy?